September 17th, 2024 regular board meeting for BCISD at 6 p.m. We are located in the BCISD administration building in the boardroom, and this meeting was posted according to the Public Meetings Act. If y'all would please stand, we have an invocation this evening, not this morning, sorry. Given by Pastor Rodolfo Piscina for us, and then we're going to have our pledge given by some students from Tenny Homes this evening. Pastor, thank you for coming. We appreciate you.
So, Father, we just come before you right now, Lord, and I just thank you. I thank you for this staff. I thank you for those who are attending. Father, I thank you for this community. Father, most of all, I thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, who died for us, and just give us an opportunity to come together in unity and fellowship. Lord, we just lift this meeting up to you. We thank you, Lord, that everything's done under the tutelage and guidance of your Holy Spirit. Lord, we love you. We thank you. We appreciate you for all that you do. We thank you for the students that are going to be recognized today. We thank you for our mayor, our country. We love you and we honor you and we bless you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming and leading us in the pledge tonight.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. We appreciate it. All right, moving down our agenda this evening is we have good news next. Does anyone have any good news to share? This is just a portion of our meeting that we like to highlight things that we as board members and Dr. Max see happening in our school district. They're above and beyond, or sometimes just things that we want to highlight to make sure the community knows what's happening.
Can I go?
Sure.
If you can't tell, I'm very excited. We just had, for those of you who are new to this, we're very excited to share a publication. It's a new tradition, if you will, of sharing the good news in the district. And we refer to it as the year in review. And our goal for our school district is to have one of these publications on every business coffee table in the Bay City School District, business district. So we're excited about this information. We will post it. There's a limited number of print copies, but we will post it online as well so that everyone can enjoy the photos and have those. But there are pages and pages of good news here, and we're excited to bring it. And also, we invite the board as well as central administration to start to sign up. We're going to hand deliver these and just express our appreciation to our business partners in the community that do so much for us. We're so grateful. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Last Friday, I spent some time at Tenny Homes, and I was serving them, but I really enjoyed it. You know, that little thing was just like, to me, was like a morale booster for the staff and just everybody getting a laugh and just have a hot dogs. But you know, it was good. I enjoyed it. Thank y'all for inviting me.
Some other campuses that are signing up to BOX.
Yeah.
No, they're starting to add on, like, oh, I gotta get involved about hamburgers this time, or one of them even said chicken fried steak. I was like, what are you gonna fry?
It's like one of each other. That's fun. I have something. I received a newsletter, which everybody up here received the same newsletter, but it stood out to me because I have students at this campus at the high school, and I emailed Ms. Mosher Flores about it. Just her celebrations that she put in her SMORE newsletter from September 12th, that 722 students had perfect attendance at the progress report time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What y'all are doing is working. And I know that it's not just the high school, it's every campus is doing something to really highlight and bring attention to attendance, because that's what we need kids in their seats to be able to educate them. The other bits of information that I thought were amazing that she shared were 87% of algebra students scored at the approaches or higher level for their first unit test, which is huge. And then 97% of US history students scored at the approaches or higher level for their first unit test. And I have to say, I did get to go to a spotlight at their campus because my kids go there, and I went into one of the US history teachers' classes, and it was truly an incredible experience for the 5 minutes or less that I was in there. So what is going on that campus is truly incredible, and it was beautifully highlighted. So if you do have students at other campuses, there are more spotlights coming up, and I would highly encourage you to sign up for that and to get in touch with the district office or the principal of that campus, because it really is a great time for you to be able to see what your students are doing on each campus at a level that's very different than just walking on campus at any time. So thank you for hosting that. Thank you, Dr. Mack and your team, for putting that together. But I just thought, wow, 97%, 87%, and 722 students, that's a big deal, and that deserves to be celebrated. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I attended the spotlight as well at the high school campus, and I was amazed by the students. Everyone was very well behaved. And I thought the teachers in the classrooms we went in, it's a little distracting to have 3 or 4 people come in the back of the class, and they handled it very well. And I like the high school, and my students are in junior high. I look forward to that one. I know it'll be just as good, but I was very impressed.
Thank you.
Anything else?
This is kind of like more on like the whole city, I guess, but it has to do with BCISD. I've gone to the way football. I think people was going to swing, and man, like I think we might have had more people there than the swinging people did. You know, like we're showing out over there. There's some Bay City pride going on.
Sure.
It's pretty awesome.
And a resident from West Columbia came and told me that our crowd was bigger. So it's unofficial, but it was certainly reported to me that that there was more Bay City folk there. So you're right. It's a momentum builder for sure.
Yes.
And after that, I was talking to one of the police officers over there, and he said they always boost up whenever we come because there's so many people coming. They don't just leave one person over there because we just show up over there because they're close games. And he said that they had to keep on getting called to the home side because we were so overhit. Like they didn't need the extra support on our side. So like, we're gonna go Bay City, all right.
Everything's worth mentioning. It's positive for sure. So thank
Yes.
you for those kind words.
Yes. Anything else? Obviously, our football team is doing fantastic. Cross country's doing great. Junior high sports are in full swing. So, and things are rocking and rolling, and I know there's a lot of hours unseen that go into that. So thank you, everybody, for that. All right, moving on, if anyone doesn't have anything else. All right, to our celebration of excellence. Tonight we get to honor some students that are College Board National recognized. I'm not, Ms. Marjorie is doing that. Okay. Sorry.
Well, Ms. Lopez is gonna do the majority of it.
Sorry,
That's
Ms.
okay. But just to share a little bit, people ask all the time, what is the PSAT? It is a preliminary scholastic aptitude test. And a lot of students just wait and want to take the SAT or the ACT without doing the PSAT. But there's so many advantages of doing the PSAT because you can get the College Board recognition, and it only comes if you take the test in your junior year. So Ms. Lopez is going to share a little bit more background, and then we'll recognize the students.
So I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure that hit all the important parts. But I'm really proud to present the students who earned academic honors from the College Board National Recognition Program. This program celebrates the hard work of thousands of high school students nationwide and helps showcase their strong academic performance. Many college institutions use these awards for their recruitment efforts and scholarship offers, which increases college access for more students. And we've had students in the past that have submitted these awards to colleges and they got big scholarship money. So okay. Eligible students must meet the following criteria to qualify: earn a GPA of B+ or higher. They must the PSAT scores that are must be within the top 10% of test takers in each state for each award program. So they're the top 10% of their state. Attend school in a rural area or small town, or identify as African American, Hispanic, Native American, or first generation college student. This year, the National Recognition Program recognized the outstanding academic abilities of more than 90,000 deserving students, and 10 of those students were our very own Black Cats. We have 77 students registered for the upcoming BCISD this October 23rd, so we're anticipating celebrating a larger group next year, if they answer their emails.
They do have to do that part.
So Bay City High School is so excited to celebrate our students and recognize them for their strong academic performance in their classroom and on college board assessments like the PSAT. There's so much that makes our students unique, and this honor reinforces their individuality and their achievements. So when I call your name, please come forward. Jorge Aboitas, National First Generation Recognition Award, the Hispanic Recognition Award, and the Rural and Small Town Award. Hispanic Recognition Award and Rural and Small Town Award. National First Generation Recognition Award, Hispanic Recognition Award, and Rural and Small Town Award.
No.
Mariah Brooks, National First Generation Recognition Award, African American Recognition Award, Hispanic Recognition Award. Not present tonight, but I want to acknowledge his achievements. So National First Generation Recognition Award and Rural and Small Town Award. Alex Buscado, Generation Recognition Award and Hispanic Recognition Award. Santiago Gonzalez, National First Generation Recognition Award, Hispanic Recognition Award, and Rural and Small Town Award. Carmine Ramirez, National First Generation Recognition Award, Hispanic Recognition Award, and Rural and Small Town Award. Adrian Vega Lopez is not present tonight, but his awards were National First Generation Recognition Award and Hispanic Recognition Award. National Rural and Small Town Award. So most of these students got multiple awards, which is amazing because they scored top 10% of their state for that award. But a lot of these, I don't know if you know, but they were also here for the AP night. So a lot of these students actually scored really high on their key exam. So congratulations, Black Cats, job well done, and always remember to check your emails. Okay. Y'all ready? Now, real big, like to go to school, like Principal Miller said. Better. Sorry.
Okay, thank y'all. Congratulations.
Congratulations, students, that's a huge deal. We appreciate you and parents for supporting your student. That's a big deal as well. It takes a lot, everybody's effort, so thank y'all. All right, we do not have anyone for public comments this evening, so we're gonna go straight to the LSG portion of our meeting. Good evening, sir, how are you?
I'm good.
Good to have you here.
And so we'll look first of all at last month's meeting. Review the contractor for that. So you have a meeting that was, you're accountable for 104 minutes. 57 of those minutes were spent on student outcome related items for 54.81%. So that's up. You had 6 trustees present, only 1 absent for 85.71% attendance. 9 items on the consent agenda and 0 were pulled. And by the way, I've given your agenda to several districts that are trying to improve their use of time. And so I'm using this example, so I hope you don't mind. There's 3 other agenda items, that's all that you had last month. And then you were focusing on one goal, and one goal was on target. And you had 3 goal progress measures that were all on target. So that is your tracker for last month. Now, for this month, what we've done, the leadership team met, and I kind of did a high-level review with you last month of what we would be talking about this month. Because we want you to review, have any questions answered by the principals, by the central administration, and then hopefully approve these things tonight. Now, you're going to be kind of signing a blank check in a sense, because you're going to notice in the baselines, we're going to fill in the baselines with the beginning of the year assessment data. And so as that comes in, I'm going to challenge the leadership team to try to have that in the monitoring report by October in all 5 of the goals, if they can do that. Now, we're not going to be reviewing all 5 of them. We're going to be reviewing goals 1 and 2 next month, so they will have to have their data. But I'm hoping that all the data from the beginning of the year can be in. And we're going to meet on the 1st of October and have our planning meeting for the October work. Just to give you a little heads up on that. I also noticed a couple of typos when I went over this evening before I came here, so I got to apologize for that. They're on goal 5. But let me just pull this up so that I don't know that it's going to be big enough on the screen where anybody can see it, but we'll pull it up and see. So if you'll just draw your attention to your folder, and you can look at this in your folder. Now, none of the goals have changed. All the goals are the same, and each of the subgroups, annual targets, have not changed. You own the goals. We didn't make any changes to the goals. The goal progress measures, as you may remember, that's kind of like the coach's adjustment at halftime. He sees how things are going and he makes adjustments. So we talked about the assessments. We discussed if there was any need to change assessments. We talked about the annual targets that we set up last year, and we made the determination that we didn't think any annual targets needed to change. We wanted to kind of continue that challenge. So you'll notice on the targets for each of the goal progress measures that they match the annual targets that we set up last year. So just looking at goal number 1, that is for 3rd grade reading. And so that first goal progress measure, just looking at that, it's the percentage of kinder students who score 8th grade level or above on the in-class reading assessment will increase from the beginning of the year, beginning of your percentage, which will fill in September 2024 to 56% by August of 2025. So that's the item right there. So you can see that it looks like Ms. Howard's already put some data in, but we're not going to be talking about that right now. We're going to be looking at that next month. So she's already put it in. I updated that when I was sitting here earlier. So what you have in your folder on your monitoring report doesn't match what's on the screen exactly, because it's been updated since about 30 minutes ago. But any questions on GPM 1.1? Okay, so looking at 1.2, it's the same. We're using in class as the reading assessment, and it's for 1st grade. You can see that the target is 40%, and that is the same as the annual target we set up last year. Challenge to the okay. And then when we look at 1.3, that's for 2nd grade. And again, the target there is 62%. So any questions on goal 1?
I have a question. I see dates, like October, March, but the goal is from August 24 to August 25. I guess that kind of accounts for like summer loss, because there's 24, going to 25. I feel like at the end of the school year 25, they'll be.
We go with August on all of them, just as really nothing is gonna change at the first and second grade level from the time the Star Fest is taken in May. It's some of the high school areas like CCMR, that could change during the summer. But we just usually say September to August, this doesn't matter. Consistency. That's what that means. And as far as like those dates down the side there, those are the dates that we're gonna monitor. So you can, yes, you can expect to see updates here at the board meeting in those months. So in October, we're gonna be monitoring goal 1 and goal 2. We're gonna get to the monitoring calendar. Okay, any other questions? Good question. Appreciate that. Any other questions on 1? Okay, so we step over to 2, and 2 is early childhood math. And one of the things we try to emphasize with goal 1 and goal 2, while they're testing at the 3rd grade level, this is not all about 3rd grade teachers. This is about everything that's happening in their education up to 3rd grade. So it's that whole early childhood team, starting with pre-K, and Dr. Maxey rolling it out to the daycares to try to get them on board too and help us. So that's a good thing. So we look at math for goal 2, and the first goal progress measure is, again, we're using it in class, and it's, see, she's already got a beginning of the year number in there to talk about next month, but we're trying to get to 30%. That's the annual target for 2025. That's for kinder. And I'd like to just ask Ms. Howard a question, if you don't mind. Can you kind of, and maybe we've covered this a little bit before, but can you give us a brief description of how labor intensive M-Class is to give that assessment?
Yes. Well, my teachers could give you a much better description because they're the ones who are in the trenches, but it is a very labor intensive. It's a one-on-one, not on the computer. You're taking a student into the hallway to test them, to try to get as, calm of an environment as you can. And then it's just this rapid fire, test that I know Mr. West, or Trustee West participated in last year. And it is it's a lot. It's a lot for them to do, the time span, we do have to space it because 5-year-old attention spans, some of them are about that of a mosquito this time of year, but we do what we can. Some of the kids have never been in school before, and so this is a much truer representation. Last year we tested a couple weeks later because of some issues that we had with the M-Class itself, but so this is a little bit truer representation that we'll look at next month when we present. But it is a pretty intensive test, and if you ever want to experience it, we go through it again in January and again in May, and I'd love for you to come over and support us. You can sit there and watch how hard our teachers work to pull the data from the kids.
Yeah, it's a different kind of a test than what they give at the other grades, because it is so individualized for the students and the teachers. Thank you for that explanation. All right, so 2.2 is the same thing with 1st grade. You can see our target is 34%. Same as what we had. We didn't reduce the targets. We didn't adjust those. We kept them the same. And I applauded the leadership team on doing that because it shows that they're really up for the challenge and wanting to continue to improve with each grade level. When you look at 2.3, this is 2nd grade. And our target is 39% for the year. So any questions on the math goal, early childhood math? Okay, we're going to go on to goal 3. This is CCMR. So the way we have this thing tooled out is on the goal progress measures. We're looking at sophomores, juniors, and then seniors. So when you do see that data coming next month on sophomores, it's going to be, real low, right? Because they're just, they haven't really had a chance to score a point yet, too many of them. You will have some in there, but by the time they get to be seniors, you're going to have a whole lot more. Then there's a number of different ways they can score a point. Of course, we've talked about that. Ms. Mosier will be describing those things to you as we go through the year. When we initially did this the first year, We looked at dual credit as one goal progress measure. Then we looked at TSI as another. Then we looked at IBCs, industry-based certification is another. But that, we felt like that was a little limiting, and so last year and then this year, we moved to sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And then I think the real detail is in the story line. You know, Ms. Mosier's good at telling us the story of how it all comes about. She'll explain when she makes presentations about how these kids are getting those points. And of course, the game has changed with CCMO. Now they have to have, they can't just have, they can be a really skilled welder, they can pass the welding test as a young student. They're not going to get a point until they finish that sequence of courses. And it seems kind of a shame that that's the way it's been retooled. And they're kids. And kids do what? They change their mind. So they think they want to be a welder, and then they get hot ash on their arms, and they decide, hey, I don't think I want to be a welder. But now they're in this course sequence, so it puts a challenge on the high school. So the first one is sophomores, the second one is juniors, the third GPM is seniors, and you can tell they're aiming for 92% for the senior class. That's fantastic. So making some really good moves here at BCISD. So when we look at goal 4, this is an area that the district feels they need to improve in, and that's 7th grade math. And so when we look at this, we're looking at 3 goal progress measures. One is for 4th grade, and we're going to use the 2024 STAR percentage score as a baseline. That'll be plugged in there. And then we're going to be shooting for 44% at meets or above. And remember, these targets are all at meets or above, which is a high standard. And you know, a lot of times the principals they'll present that to you, because they also present how many got to approaches. I mean, that's kind of up to them if they determine that they want to give you that much more information. Sometimes they're really proud of that, they want to share it because it shows growth. Right? It's not a big circle. Okay, so then you've got 5th grade, the same thing. We're going to plug in the 2024 STAR percent as a baseline. 30% is our target for 5th grade. In 6th grade, the target is 29%. Any questions on goal 4? Goal 5, we're looking at English 1, and so again, we're going to use the STAR score from this past year, and we're looking at 56% for 9th graders. And then we go to goal 5.2, goal progress measure 5.2, we're looking at 8th grade, so we're going beyond. And then at 5.3, we're going to be looking at 5th graders. So we use, again, we're going to be using the STAR scores from last year, and then the targets that we had already built.
I know at our last meeting, there was discussion about the curriculum-based assessments. Those tools for reporting GP on these different GPMs. Was there any conversation about that and what that looks like versus a dip to show us where we're headed to the end goal versus a CBA, which is a test? You've had 3 weeks of material, and now you're being tested over 3 weeks of material. You've got 3 weeks of material being tested. So it's not a true depiction of where we're headed, kind of. Was the conversation last meeting, if I recall correctly. What was the conversation about revolving around that in the leadership meeting? And
yeah, we discussed that, and Dr. Mack, would you like to address that?
Yes.
What we decided to do?
Yes, and so the benefit of staying the course and sticking to a plan is that this is our 2nd year of CPAs. So Tony has differentiated for us the value in program evaluation. So it's not necessarily that we only look at this cohort as they go through, and we don't over-test students for sure. But now we'll have that first go around on CPA, and we were visiting on Timmy Holmes. We discussed this week about really looking closely. If you remember that January date, now we have the data before and the data after. And as far as, again, that timeline of where we're going, it does tell you where we're going, because in your first CBA, then you build in intervention information throughout the year, you spiral the curriculum. So it really does both, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you'll be able to use the CBA scores from this year to compare them to last year's, which will show whether there was any progress,
Yes.
program progress
Yes.
from year to year. So, yeah, we talked about a couple of different ways we can show you the material. We're gonna be sensitive to that as we go along. Try to meet your needs for that, to show growth.
We look forward to it. I think it's going to be something that we bring and then we refine. This is part of what we already do with CPAs every year. So it's not extra really, it's just comparing program year to year and also holes in the curriculum throughout the year without introducing another test into those star.
Yeah, we're trying not to.
Over-test.
Yeah, very good question.
I appreciate that. I just wanted to look back because I remember we had that conversation. And it was a lengthy conversation with the last board meeting, so.
Yes, I believe, and credit to Mark, I believe he brought it up. I mean, we had it in our notes. That's something that made complete sense to us to look at it both ways. So.
Good deal. Thank you, Dr. Ryan.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna pull up, that's our monitoring report. And that's, those are the goal progress measures. We're gonna move on now to the constraints. And of course, you own the constraints as a board. So let me pull up the board constraints first. And we don't have to make changes in these, but if you see any of these, and you've got them in your folder there, if you see any of these that you think you want to delete, you can do that. If you see any that you want to change or something that you know that you want to add, that would be just fine. It's totally up to you. And you can leave it the same if fine. Any comments? The first one has to do with community engagement. It's each month. I have another district that's doing that had it in there as each month, and they made the decision to change it to each quarter. Because it's kind of a high, for them, they thought it was a high standard. So I just thought I would throw that out. Other districts are looking at that. If you feel like you can manage once a month, that's fantastic. But, you know, we always ask, what have you done as far as engagement?
This doesn't have to be the whole board, it's just the board has to be represented.
Oh, yeah, a representative of the board. Right. Yeah, one or two of you, one of you, the superintendent.
I guess my question would be, do we have community engagement activities monthly, every month of the year?
There's
Yeah.
opportunities.
There's opportunities, but that's asking. I'm like, we don't need to add more to the plate. I know they're heavy in the fall. We have lots of them just because they're parent nights, they're different things. But as far as if we're setting ourselves up for success, is there one every single month or do we go some, I don't know, because I've never looked at it.
And see, your evaluation is quarterly.
Correct.
So what we're gonna do, at
Look at
evaluation,
it.
kind of like next month, we have the evaluation, our first one.
Right.
We'll ask, what have we done this quarter?
Right.
And so
So maybe it makes sense to change it to quarter just to keep it consistent across the
that's what we're.
across the board. It's where we're not looking.
What do y'all
Doesn't mean we can't overachieve.
Correct, doesn't mean we
Yeah,
can't do
right.
it monthly, and I think we should be doing it monthly. But if there's consistency across the planes.
So
I would agree with that, just because, you know, we got the campus spotlight we're excited about now, and that's a rollout and a plan. The board does a great job of going to, I see them at parent nights, bilingual nights, awards nights. So again, just my humble opinion is that you have it covered well.
yeah, it's actually engaging with the community in some type of forum where you're promoting vision goals. And it doesn't have to be anything real in that for just out for it. So do we change it to quarter? We'll leave it as one.
I'm changing it to quarter just so it's consistent across.
Feels that way. Okay, I went ahead and did that. y'all can talk about it. The board shall not allow discussion outside of the agenda items during the meetings. The board shall not allow less than 50% of their time on meetings on student outcomes. The board shall not allow a year to go by without holding a team building activity with 100% attendance. And this last year, we didn't do that. We missed it just by. We did that. That's probably a good goal to keep in there. And then the board shall not fail to stay informed and be prepared for meetings. That might be a possible addition. Leave that out. The leadership team thought that we pay just as an idea.
If I could preface that idea, what I'm trying to hone, and I sent one last time, is I want to do a good job of keeping them. I know that was a, you know, I would like to have feedback to make sure that I'm not putting too much information on the board, too little. And so that's my piece of it, is I want to do a good job of providing information. That's the main thing. And receive that feedback if it's too much, too little, or like we talked today about CDAs, just to make sure that I'm on target to give you what you need, not more or less. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's something that I threw out. There's a number of boards that have that, that focus on that. So it's just something I was just trying to think of some ideas for you to consider.
Not opposed to it, I think.
Not because I think there's a weakness, but.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's good accountability of volunteer to run for this position, and we need to be informed and be making informed decisions and be prepared for those decisions that are to come across the desk.
Well, and one of the temperature check I use on that as a coach is I look at how many items get pulled off the consent. First of all, how many items do you have on the consent? Sometimes you have some meetings 11, 12 items. Almost occasionally pull them out, which means you're prepared, or you wouldn't feel comfortable voting. So that's good. I don't know if y'all want to add that or if you don't, that's fine. I just put it on there.
I guess it'd be, you can put it on there because it's nice to have the accountability. I don't think there's an issue with it right now, but it's a good like reminder of it. It's good for us to hold each other accountable, you know, like it's, you know, straight and fine.
Another thing, when you get a new board member that comes on, it's like, hey, this is how we roll. It gives you that ability. Okay, we can definitely add that one. And, okay, so those are the board constraints, and then if we look at the superintendent constraints. All right, so there's 4 of them. The first one is this, very similar to yours, has to do with participating at 100% attended meeting. I misspelled participating.
No, medical exemptions.
That's not a good idea. That's hard.
Well, and I know when we created these originally, when we started LSG, that was created intentionally. I'm fine leaving it. I think it's a great accountability piece, but I also think that it's a piece that goes into the evaluation of the superintendent of, have you been engaged? And this is the perfect example of you didn't come to the team of 8 training that we held, of what's going on, talking point. So I'm fine leaving it, or I think it's fine. We missed the mark this past year.
Very good.
I think it's good accountability.
The superintendent shall not allow the attendance rate to drop below 92.323%, which is last year's rate. So I'm pretty sure y'all are going to want to leave that. It's on there.
Can I just real quick on that, some exciting news. I'm getting ready to send this more out to leadership. Got to look at your daily attendance accounting. No hyperbole. It's the best I've seen in 30 years of business. And I'm going to send you that report. Hopefully no later than tomorrow. We're coming to the end of the 6 weeks. And amazing, amazing. And I know at the secondary level, that's top, 8 periods. And I hope you see what I see as soon as you open it, because it's a bear to wrestle all those trips and whatnot. No hyperbole, it's the best I've seen of staying on it daily, making sure it's accurate. You'll get to see it, and I'm sending it to your BDs, your leadership team, like I usually do. But please, there'll be plenty of kudos in there. But I wanted to mention it here because it is special. Thank you all for that effort. I would say a complete team effort. The way that, and thank you for that question. So the way that works, this particular area is we'll call it like the onesie report. And so what that means is there's an odd absence. So out of the whole day, there's only one absence. Of course, this never happens, but it could happen that a student isn't where they're supposed to be, right? It could happen. Or it could be some sort of, you could have a substitute teacher, you could have all kinds of things happen. So at the end of the day, the onesie report is provided to all the teachers to say, oh, there are any mistakes. And that is common. That's not extra work. That's a common piece. You should reconcile every day, because every other day gets stale. Then there's a protocol to edit at the end of the week as well. And then the next one coming up is an audit. Again, best practices. This is not expert. At the end of the 6 weeks. And so that's literally going to every teacher who all's involved as a regular practice. But I'm just telling you, the intentionality is unbelievable. And well, it's absolutely believable. The attendance clerk prints the report and/or liaisons. Do any of you use your liaison, or is it who sends the onesie report out?
The attendance clerk,
The
but the
attendance clerk.
liaison just kind of works with sort of tracking student trends, that there might be one-offs from, like, are they skipping a certain geometry class? Or...
Yes. And so it is a team effort. So every teacher on those secondary campuses will get notice of, hey guys, this may be wrong. And we want to correct it as soon as possible. Last year, we gave them all the legal parameters so that everyone feels confident that they're doing. For instance, if a student, unfortunately by law, and the most important document that we shared in leadership was the attendance accounting handbook. If you ever want to Google, there's not one attendance question in the world that's not in there. And so our administration, our VPs have that, intentionally. It's always been there, but intentionally to say, let's have this. You need to reference it. You need to call us. But it is teachers, clerks. I met with the attendance liaisons today, and they're really excited. They shared with me a couple of the conversations that we're having on the 90% rule, and orienting everyone to the 90% rule being state law, and depending on whether or not you get attendance credit. And so liaisons, all teachers, clerical, administration is also calling students in and meeting with them one-on-one. So those who don't meet, and again, you heard from Ms. Mosher a whole bunch. Well, that perfect attendance is going very well. And so we're very appreciative to have the liaisons to support the campuses in that role, and I can tell you that they are excited. And earlier, she stepped out. I know she was here earlier, but she stepped out. So Elizabeth, you were sorry. Today's got to step in with you and the team, and great meeting, great feedback, great training, ongoing training. We provided them the space in our room if you just need to get away. Because it can be everything to talk about attendance law, to talk about communication, to talk about all that goes into this. And you guys are taking us up on that. So it's a team effort. Sorry to belabor that, but we're excited.
Thank you. Now, the one thing I would want to ask you is, you're in charge of the constraints. The constraint progress measures belong to Dr. So you want to keep that constraint at 92.23, or you want to push it up? That was last year's baseline.
And so
if we could get to, ideally, if we could get up 100% would be fantastic. It's not realistic, just throwing it out there, but 90 like somewhere in the 94, 95, 96, that would be incredible for our students and their education. But I don't know if that's a realistic.
And I do have, up to the minute ADA. But in my opinion, we're about to end the 6 weeks and we talk about BOY standards. And I can tell you it's looking good. We've got to finish the first 6 weeks, and more importantly, we have to finish the year. Yes, and for you guys, that's a superintendent constraint, and I'm ready. That's not y'all's constraint. You're doing a heck of a job, and I'm behind you, and I'm good with any number because I think we are really, really getting there. Another thing to consider is it also added when we adopted the budget, the increase by a point or above that. So if we increased by a point, that was going to be the $500 payment to all staff. And then the US board said if it's higher than 1 point, we want to come back. So I just think it's a positive thing all the way around. I'm completely open to that. I would love to say I have the data because I usually do to say this is where it's at, but I'm open to it. I think it is beyond critical because it's tied to student outcomes, funding to support students, extracurricular, co-curricular, in the trenches, everything. So I'm completely open to it.
Yeah, Dr. Mack says his target at 93.23, which is probably his minimal target. That's for sure. So that's just up to y'all. I throw that out there as something.
Is there any? I would have, of course, last year's data, but any data we could pull up or.
Well, I was gonna add, we can't, obviously we can't spell a number out there.
Right.
But is there data to support where we should be achieving to be? With our type of community, our size school, our,
So, we have districts right now that, at the end of last year, there's a few districts in which we're averaging 97, 98%. That's where most everybody was, between 96 and 98 before COVID. Everybody struggled since COVID, right? To get everybody back, switch year. So, there's nothing wrong with leaving it right where it was. And it's not going to slow them down or speed them up to have a higher target. So,
This
I
is
just
just
do
we
that.
already have a bonus out there, carry out there, if you get it up there, there's something for you, So I'm fine with leaving it right there so that we don't cause any confusion, because if we move it, then our teacher's gonna start thinking like, oh, well, it moved to 93, so now I get the $900, so I gotta do 2 points, and it's just leave it the way it is. They know that they can get the bonus if they need it, and if they go above, they'll get even more, and it's not confusing.
And I did pull up the final ADA, and so we did, and we know we've had meetings on it. We agreed to on the onesie report and the things we're doing this year, the extra accountability we've added. I know that can create some heartburn, but we have to improve. And so last year we were at the final refined total ADA was 92.1, so we didn't meet the 93.2 last year according to on data C suite. I'm sorry, being quick over my points. That's kind of a big deal. I don't have the update for 23-24. We do our submission here coming up pretty soon. So that's 22-23.
Okay.
And check.
I'm fine leaving it where it is with the understanding of let's push for more, but I agree with Mark. If we move the mark now or move the target now, then is that going to create a lot of confusion?
So let's go to superintendent constraint 3. The superintendent shall not allow the teacher retention rate to decrease. And the 10-year average, I thought this data was really important. The 10-year average of retention rate is 77.75%. And so his goal progress measure for this is the teacher retention rate decreased from 74.47% in August 23 to 85% by August 28. So that's like a 5-year goal. He
has set.
And so, in August of '24, your retention rate was 83.55%. That's really good. I mean, when you look at the region, usually averages like 16%, 17% of turnover rate. So you in fact reverse that, you're right in line with the region for this last year, which is excellent. I mean, it shows that they've really done a lot of hard work to retain good people.
And that data point is also updated, oddly, very oddly enough, in the fall. For the previous year, we get our final update, which we haven't received yet. So I just want to be transparent.
Excellent. So my recommendation would be to leave it where it is at 5-year target, which is going to be pretty tough to do.
And we also said that across the board, regardless of any reason whatsoever, because we want to be compared to the state, we don't want to have definitions within that.
Right.
That just cause a lot of confusion and how are we counting it? We want to count it the same way that our taper report does, and that way we can have a long-term reference.
Superintendent constraint number 4 is the superintendent shall not tolerate physically aggressive behaviors from students. And the way that he's set up a goal for himself on that is the district and campus personnel will collaboratively review and report discipline data every 6 weeks. So you can see the 22-23 totals by quarter, and the 23-24 totals by quarter. There was a reduction last year. Aggressive behaviors. Big trend. Any changes that you want to see there, other than just keep that trend going?
We're also adding at the end of every 6 weeks this year, which will be in the score I send out. We'll do an analysis not only of attendance and student performance, but we will also do the discipline referrals as well. Also, that other things that facilitate getting this done is not just punishment. We have our teacher logs. You all may be aware of that the teacher documents anything. It's not even a referral. I can see it from my desk. And when I say that, we're supported. And I've used the example before. Lisa and I know we sat together and went through her whole campus in a matter of 10 minutes. We're not looking for the granular level. We're like, all right, here's a brand new teacher. And if there's significant entries, it may be a training thing. It may be a support thing, above all. It may be a chemistry thing. So we have that in place. This year also, we have the BMUs going, behavior management units going, a bit of a hybrid with what was once referred to as the PASS. And it's more now keeping kids, we want them to be successful in the classroom. So it's more of a touching point than a storage area. Get it right, and you can be successful. We want you back in the classroom, but as you know, we can't have the learning environment disrupted. That's clear cut. Additionally, we have our Centegics, which is a staff. There's a lot of different ways, and I only mention this because I'm watching the data. I get this on my laptop. You know, if you have a student that's really struggling, or sometimes a special needs student, you may be aware that some of them, they run every day. Any opportunity they will turn as a whole, they will run. So with these, and I have seen our campuses use this, if we have a special needs student that elopes, they hit this 3 times, they know exactly where the student may have exited the building, or in most cases, right outside the door that we've seen, they're outside the door, but still, we have to continue with instructions. So the team comes, administration comes, and I know, Anna, you recently had one. So who would show up in that situation where we have, let's say, a behavior issue, the 3 touches, I need help. Who typically is your reaction team to that call for, let's say, a behavior student in a BMU?
An AP, if not both APs, myself, the police officer, and Megan, the counselor. So when the student is typically outside, you know, like just pouting or because they don't want to go inside
inside the classroom, task avoidance. But our biggest surprise, and I think it's the biggest surprise for the student as well, is that we all show up. So the student is sitting down looking at us like, what are all of you doing here? Well, the teacher said she needed help, you know, and we come here and little Johnny is here, so what's going on, you know, like talk to us. And so it's his biggest surprise. So for the most part, like they don't do it again because they know that an entire team is going to show up to assist. Yes.
That's good. I just love the map feature that you go
Mhm.
straight to that point. We also have the geo fencing out here, you know, you can, that extend all the way to the stadium.
Yes, when we did the testing with them, I went to the far corners of the playground at Cherry and the far corners of the football field stadium area over at junior high. And we had teams out on the football field and baseball field, both testing the range of it to make sure it was covered all the way out there.
So if we have a situation where there's a physical altercation, as a parent, as a staff member, you want people there ASAP. And so we're really honing our strategies on discipline management to I need help versus a continuous punch, which would be top level reaction. This is the first 6 weeks we've done it. And I just love how all the data comes to my laptop. And again, we can see it in specific students. Also with behavior, another key component with behavior is students being in class and on task. If they're in the hallway, they can run into each other, there can be issues. And I know that you may be aware of, but Ms. Cummings, you have the Hall Pass program to make sure you can track and receive data of where the children are, how many Hall Passes. Could you make a comment or two about that real quick?
It lets us know, like with the program that we have like administrators have the app on their phone. So any kiddo in the hallway, I can basically see if they have that pass there, how long they've been out, what class they came from, and where they're supposed to go to. When we have situations where students have possibly stay away agreements, we can set that up in the hallway passes system as well. So if this student is not supposed to be near the student at any time, we can prevent that from having passes at the same time as well. We can have it to where it prints out reports to say how much time a child has been out of class. Because I've had people question, well, my child's never been able to go use the restroom. Well, I can let the parent know that your child has had so many passes, been out of class this amount of time. It does quite a bit for us on that piece. It also has it to where one of the huge things what we like for as well too, instead of the child having to interrupt the class and say, I need to go to wherever. The pass is already up like on a kiosk laptop, so they can go there and do that. The teacher can keep teaching, doing their instruction, whatever they're doing, go by and approve it. The child can go without having to stop the instruction for everybody in the class. So it helps with that. So it's a lot of different ways. It just creates more instructional time in the class. Sixth grade, of course, need to get used to it this year, but it does help us out a lot, be able to track all that information.
And it's spreading. And so the other thing that I love is the conversation between the principals and the collaboration between the principals. You know, the principals see something that's working and they say, yeah, me too. And so thank you for spearheading that. And now we have high school and 10 homes, correct? That are moving forward with it. So, you know, that's, we like to grant the autonomy to the campus, but then when great ideas are out there, and let me tell you what, if you're not aware that your attendance strategies are overlapping like crazy, and I think a lot of it also is the liaisons. They were talking in there today about each of their campuses, positive attendance incentives, all positive, all incentives. And it was fun because I'm aware of it, but they were just sharing across the table of the pride they had for each campus and what they're doing. Whether it's spelling out black cats for every day that we have 100% in a single room, to just the positive behavior incentives, PBIS. I know Lynn Roberts has spearheaded that for us early on, and it is spread. So I'm so grateful you're sharing great ideas and you're willing to look across a campus and say, you know what, if that's working for them, I'm going to give it a shot. And of course, we know that not everything translates to charity, but I appreciate you guys for that. So that's another part of keeping our kids safe, knowing where they're at, and avoiding, if it's not working, we're going to have the data to say, you know, we're having, if we were to have problems in the hallway, we've got a lot of traffic there.
is the pushing the button 3 times or whatever. Do the students know that too? I was wondering, like, what if, what if our teacher has like a stroke or something? Could the student use that to like, hey, call, or are they just gonna run out the hallway? Like, have we done any training where they can use it too, or?
The initial rollout, which was pretty fast, was for staff, but yes, it would work. And I'm Elizabeth, do you guys have any comment on that other than we have not rolled that out, but we rolled out the staff, but I don't see any reason why. I mean, anyone who knows how it works, of course, they wouldn't be in possession of it except for an emergency, but that's definitely something we can look at.
And maybe maybe you're like, no, that we don't really want them to know what it does, or I was just throwing that out there. I was thinking that the teacher couldn't push it.
Right, and that's the whole point, is if they can, that's a great point, if they can, and staff has done a real good job of hanging on to these two overall, unless there's something I don't know about, because I know I get nervous all the time. David knows, gave me the thumbs up, staff's doing a great job of keeping them. We thought initially that these were much higher priced than they are. They're $30, and you may have seen news stories about the tragic events that happen nationally, and this has been heralded as getting people to where they needed to be. And then also recently, locally, we had a lockdown and within the county, and again, the whole county is on this system. So that's all about that whole piece. I'm just trying to say how we're purposeful in a lot of different ways. For physical violence is unacceptable, period. And so I think it's a great goal to keep going on, and everyone is committed to this, because every student deserves to be in an environment that is safe and they do not feel threatened in any way. And moreover, this is an adult, as you know, we did a huge refresher on bullying. We're also doing some update on bullying reporting on the website with Bridget English. And so, yeah, it's a whole thing. And so, again, I just want y'all to know that we're always developing systems.
I have a question on the other part of that too, with the hall pass system they're using, where they log out and see how long and everything. Is that gonna be available on Skyward so parents can see? And so we can help get ahead of it too. If we see like that Johnny's getting out of class, a certain class, that's not, because we know our kids too, right? Like, why is he doing the same time? Like, it's not that, you know, like, that's what's going on.
Yeah, I would want to visit with him because I don't know all the ins and outs. He was here before Skyward initially. And so, but we are working on a robust syncing and data syncing project for all of our systems to speak to one another. And again, we won't go into great detail today, but Chris, you know, we're working on it. Chris is not over there. That, yeah, we're going to try to get as many of these speaking as possible. And we've got a great plan for it. No, it's a great idea. It's a great idea. We will look into it.
And Dr. Mack, at this time, that's not a feature, but it is have a feature administratively where we can track time out of class by student, which classes they're leaving from, the frequency of passes in a day. And so some of our APs have already addressed some of that. Like, teachers will give a certain number of passes, but then they don't know that that kid has gotten out of every single class that day. So that's something on the administrative side that we can follow up on.
It's a great new initiative. I'm glad to see. I can tell it's appreciated when it spreads like that. And these ideas only make it better and safer. Really.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, Dr. Lyon gave us these chip cards that do all kinds of magic things around the service.
You know where you're at.
And he said, if you lose it, pay for it. You don't want to know how much it costs. So, don't try to take money. Nobody's getting this. All right, so one other thing we need to look at and through, there's a lot of work that went into this, and that's the monitor. And so you can see for the year what we're planning on bringing to you each month. You can see the strength measures we're going to evaluate, evaluations. You can see training opportunities, the goal progress measures. And you're going to notice if you count them up, we're looking at each goal 4 times during the year. The 4th time is the actual start measures. So 3, we're going to have a beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year assessments for each of the goal progress measures, 15 of those. Then we'll have Star Sports. We'll be able to give you updates on CCMR as well in August for sure. Doesn't change a whole lot in the summer, but there are some students at BCISD that stay involved in the summer. So there are some games there. So any comments on we could put other engagement opportunities in here, but it's also good to just have them send that out in the memos for Dr. Max to include in this weekly memo, engagement opportunities for more. So any comments on the calendar?
So I think this last year we talked about rearranging some of these because we talked about it and we didn't quite have the scores yet and stuff like that. So I think it's been adjusted to.
Yes, sir. We took all that into account.
Okay.
We definitely had a nice conversation about that as we went along. We first of all looked at the assessments, and then we looked at the targets and the baselines. And then we went back and said, okay, when will we absolutely sure we have that? So like, let's give ourselves plenty of time for a hurricane, bomb scare, or whatever, to cause us to be delayed, so that they have plenty of time to get that done. So I think we're gonna be on top of it.
Okay.
We hope. All right. So that is all of the different things that we have to have you vote on tonight, and then on as far as like community engagement opportunities, we'll just leave that to the principals to get that to you. Present that to you. We're going to change that to the quarter this year. So we'll start that. So next month it's going to be goal progress measures 1 for goal 1 and goal 2.
Great. Any other questions or comments about LSG from first time? All right, is there a motion to be made? All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any further comments, questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-2. Great, thank you, sir. We appreciate you. All right, moving on to reports. We had a finance committee meeting that last Friday. Feels like so long ago. And we just wanted to be able to tell you as board members what was discussed there, since it is a board committee. Felix and I were there. The third member wasn't able to attend. But I think we had good discussions. There was a PowerPoint put into board book. And I don't remember what it, one day this week. Sorry. And it just kind of went through, we really went through things that we have already been told and had been discussed. But the biggest thing was the maintenance tax notes. And so I think hopefully you all saw that, and knowing that those maintenance tax notes are coming from our maintenance operations, which is a huge chunk of what we're paying monthly out. And then obviously as a year, those do start rolling off in 27 and 28, but they go all the way to 2037, not 3037. Oh, 2037. So I don't know if anyone had any questions. Felix, did you want to add anything from your perspective? Okay. But we are, and this will be talked about in the next section, but there is a calendar that will be presented this evening to us. There is a request to have a budget meeting in November, I believe, if that's correct off the top of my head. A budget workshop just to kind of update. We'll have our PEMS data, OxNet, so all the things will kind of fall into place by the end of October. And so having that before our November board meeting, so that date will be released and sent to everyone shortly. Dr. Matthews, do you have anything that you wanted to add?
Just mainly that we will cover the calendar, and I think a big part of transparency is also the timing of when we have the meetings. For instance, this week's a big week with the end of the 6 weeks. You'll see in there later. I'll cover it later, but really the biggest part is that we're transparent and we're showing you all when things are available to us, and I'll talk about it at that point, but open to any questions y'all have.
Anyone have any questions on the presentation that was put in to board book?
All of those, all of that money, that was. That's all. That's not.
Yeah, it pulls from the, so there's no. And N&O pulls from whatever generated. So N&O generated the money through attendance and ADA. And so if your ADA is down, then those bills that are coming each month for those years will get harder because you have less ADA generating the fund. So it's not a set aside fund.
On those, I think, you know, like Jill said, starts in 27 is the first time that students start to meet. You know, I feel like it keeps growing, finding them, and that's not adding to the deficit, but it's already there, it's going behind. So we just don't know all of them.
No, because they were here before anyone was working here, as far as for me.
Yeah.
For me, it's finding things as quickly as we can find them, given 6.2 in ESSER that we're wrestling with now, significant numbers, and maintenance tax notes. And in the video, I also kind of gave some pictures of what that looks like. So that's paper, that's difficult, and it absolutely will take much more time. Just want to be accurate.
Is that something that we should also remind servants to go through all of these things?
Yes.
And say, let's find what.
Yes.
We can't, you all work on slides, available.
And again, no one is more disappointed than the surprise that I received. No one is more disappointed that it was through discovery. I agree. I would say no one is more disappointed than me. And well, I think we know. It's very disappointing working as fast as we can to bring someone in. There'll be another expense, but I agree that a third party may be something we want to do.
That's, I'm just looking, if it's gonna take that amount of time, our some of our top resources, but that's being pulled from something.
Yes.
We only have so much time.
Yes, it is very, very arduous and very difficult. And it's paper. And again, very important. And again, I feel we've done a marvelous job with something we have zero control over.
And it's unfortunate that the majority of these maintenance tax notes, if not, I mean, the one that we passed in, I'm looking at the date 22, there was one passed in 20, one in 16, no, 3 in 16, one in 2009 and 2015 is before our time. So now I think it's important just to know that sometimes people are like, oh, it's just the school board. No, it's the school board, and it is important in our community because of stuff like this. And now we're paying for years to come out of our M&O budget that is meant for, we've seen it, it's been displayed on the screen. The majority of our budget in that bucket per se is for salaries and for personnel. And this is blatantly just taking out of that. And it's unfortunate that this is where we are. And I know you and your team are discovering things daily. And it's unfortunate that it's just an unfortunate situation because I know all of us sitting at this table want to be able to do the things, give the rate, do all of those things that we all talk about, that people deserve because they're working so hard, that this is dropped in the lap and there's only so much money. So thank you for discovering it now rather than in another 6, 8, 10 months when we're back in the next budget cycle trying to figure out and we get blocked with a $24 million thing.
And it is a phenomenal question to say, what safeguards are in place moving forward? And so you saw one probably within the first month I was hired.
Yeah.
When I met, and again, I'm very much in support of the community. We had the pool initiative. I'm very much in support of the community. However, had we moved forward with that, that would have been another set of millions charged to the same account with the pay raises. So that's the example of what we're truly responsible for and how we act and how fast we act. And I think with the regulations we put in place, remember from the video that I said, this is not a database system, but we already have a robust system, but it's going to get more amazing as we go. We're starting out, and it is very difficult. But obviously, using the old methods for tracking this stuff, and so you may hear people say, well, you know, this new system is difficult. Well, it is because it's thorough. Every data cell has to be entered, and if it's not entered, it can be found. And so it will make my life a whole lot easier. But yeah, I think the main thing moving forward is we don't do anything that we can avoid touching the M&O. And it's this, imagine this, all of us here and our fellow board members that we will visit with. Anytime a loan is brought, where's it coming from? It's coming from M&O, we can't do it. And that's what I shared with the committee on the pool was that that needs to come from INS because that is voter approval. And if the voters don't want it, then we have our answer. And so, yes, I feel confident, but I don't have the words to express my disappointment.
Any other questions on the committee report? Like I said, we will have a budget workshop in November. So be on the lookout for that. I'm sure everybody gets that. It will be before. I think I don't have that pulled up. For some reason, I was.
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay, so I think it's on the calendar tentatively. But yes, it is before. It's a meeting outside. It's not tied in with our regular meeting. It is an extra meeting. Right. Any further questions? Okay, moving on to items of business. The presentation and approval of the campus improvement plan and district improvement plan goals for 24-25. Hello, sir.
Good evening, how's everybody doing?
Good, how are you?
Awesome.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I know that you guys are well familiar with the district improvement plan. I did provide a PowerPoint that's in your board book, so I know that you reviewed it. I just want to hit on some highlights and some reminders. The district improvement plan is a live working document year round. And so the goals and objectives don't change, but the strategies that we use to get there, that does. And so I just wanted to highlight just a couple of things that we did add on the strategies. And one key thing, if you look at our goals, goal 1, goal 3, and goal 5, those are the 3 goals that each campus used for their campus improvement plan. So you'll see them feed off of that. The other thing that I wanted to mention to you is with the budget constraints, we had talked about how do we get out of, stop taking out this bucket of money and move things to federal programs. And the campus and the district improvement plans are very essential to that because if you're going to spend federal funds, it's got to be in that plan. And so when we back up and we talk about needs assessment, which has to drive your strategies and your goals in the district and campus improvement plans, one of the things that we've been doing is contracting with our federal programs specialist, her name is Tish Russell. She comes and she helps us conduct those needs assessments in May at all of the campuses and at the district. And then she vets out all of our campus improvement plans and district improvement plans to ensure our compliance pieces and that everything is showing up in there 100%. We really are focusing on using federal funds, so we got to make sure that we have all those compliance pieces in place. And the district improvement plan and campus improvement plans play a real key role in that. So One of the things, just a couple of things, you know, the goals and the objectives don't change much, but I did update the performance objectives when we go to goal 5, and those were updated according to the HB3 goals that we have set, and then also the ones that we added that were necessary, but we are tracking our program, so that's in there as well. And then if you go all the way to the end, it kind of shows you some of the strategies that were added to the district improvement plan. And you're well aware of most of them, and all of them are tied to our teacher salaries and also our retention and recruitment and all of those things. The first one there is something that we started working on last year. Lee Arlitt and Ms. Crosskoff worked real hard, getting a grant for us. So we started this year with our UHB resident teacher program. And so we do have one that is attending homes, and we have been meeting this last week on how we can refine that and extend that going forward. That is a self-sustaining program, so that we can make sure that the funding piece is self-sustaining and we continue throughout the years. The other thing is the teacher incentive allotment. We talked about ways that our teachers can tap into that. The first thing was the national board certification that's in there. We do have one person who did start that and is in a cohort now this year. And there were several that weren't quite sure, but we are continuing again with the support of our federal programs. Those that do go into the cohort will get support year-round with a coach and a cohort that they work through, and that is provided through our federal programs for them to grow in that capacity. We have an information session on Tuesday next week to start growing another cohort to start this year. And then we'll follow up with another one that start with pre-canvassing. So that's in there as well. The other big thing that I wanted to point out is our local designation system that we worked with consultants on, and we have started that this year. You guys know about that piece. So we're in our data capture here. Our teacher incentive allotment local designation system was approved last year. This year is when we're capturing that data, and what we'll do is once we get that data, at the end of the summer, we'll submit that to Texas Tech. They will vet that out. If everything looks good and there's no variances that are significant, then teachers can be designated if they reach those thresholds, and then their payout would be the following June to August of the following year. And so we're looking forward to that. It's exciting. It's a lot of work on the administrators. We have Region 15 is coming to help us with in-class calibration with the administrators, so that's really good. And then the other piece that I wanted to talk to you about that we're really excited about is our professional development conference, the first one that we've done. Dr. McHazlett brought up this idea and kind of charged us with it. And really, it's going to be on November 4th. And our own staff will be presenting, and it's really supposed to be a day of fun. We are going to have Region 3 come in and present some other fun things that are kind of uniform and you know, available for anybody, doesn't matter what you teach or what you do. But this English and our committee have been working really, really hard. It's super fun. It's called the Sweet Life, and everything candy and all that kind of stuff. So we're probably looking right now, we have almost 30 local PD proposals from our staff. And then we'll have 10 additional from Region 3. So it's going to be really robust. We're going to start off with the day, and this was Ms. English's idea, with an educational comedian, just to get everybody pumped up and laugh, and then go forward and pick what sessions they want to go to, just have a good time during the day. So we're really excited about that. But those are just the updates, some of the highlights. And then you have the campus improvement plans that are in there as well. Each campus had their site-based committee meetings for that, and everything is ready. But once you do approve that, then we'll post it on the internet website, and then we'll also translate it in Spanish, and that'll be benefit for everybody. Any questions?
Teacher incentive program. That's only one person.
National Board Certification.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's two ways to tap into the teacher incentive allotment. Okay, and so one of them is if you're National Board certified, you can tap into it no matter what public district you work in. So if I go anywhere, if I'm National Board certified, that designation follows me and that allotment follows me. So if have somebody that's national board certified right here, we're gonna get that allotment and we pay it out to that teacher. If they move, that allotment's gonna go to whatever district they go to, they pay it out to that teacher. Our local designation system, all of our teachers that we have framed out for this year, which are consecutive STAR tested areas, is the first year that we started with, all of them will be eligible if they meet the threshold of the growth threshold and the growth test rates. Yeah, so that's a much bigger audience, but one of the good things about national board certification is, you know, we talked about that we don't want to jump in and try to get everybody into this designation system at the very beginning.
Right.
Because it may be where it's too much and then our data is thrown out. Well, in the meantime, you know, if I'm a band director or if I'm a CTE person, and that's coming later, maybe 2-3 years down the road, if I have my national board certification, I can start tapping in and increasing my income now. So that's why we want to have both avenues available for our teachers. They absolutely can. So if I'm national board certified, I can still be designated locally under my local designation system. I'm not 100% sure how that works out for the allotment that comes in, if you can get both or, if, you know, cancels one or the other out. But if I'm national board certified, it's easy for the ones. Either way, it results in more income.
More income and a ton of work on your part. We've been talking about financial constraints that are horrific, unimaginable, the worst nightmare, unimaginable. And yet I did roll, that was one more thing I rolled out to me. We took it like a champion because we have to do something and so many great things are going on. I know that's a huge rollout and that is a lot of work, but we're doing the work. So thank you.
Yeah. I'm excited because we've been talking about the financial climate, in fact, that the state is not giving, there's no indication there's going to be any relief. And this is something that I feel like we can do for our teachers to make that better. And I'm so glad you tasked us with that. It is a lot of work, but you know, we owe it to them to make it happen. So.
I did have one question. I noticed in a couple of the campus improvement plans and the needs assessments, our diversity, it became a little bit greater. On page 159, I can pull it up. And it referred to in the campus, so it was like I'm trying to 157. So just looking at the junior high was the first one. It talked about the current enrollment, and then it talked about our economically disadvantaged and our English language learners, and how our numbers have kind of shifted a little bit. And one of the needs that I just wanted to know, has this happened, was a cultural diversity training, just because we're having so many more kids, it says in here multiple times, from the crisis center, just of different backgrounds and different nationalities with different cultures. Right. And I saw that in a couple of them. That's the only reason it kind of caught my eye. What has been given, what tools have been given to the teachers to kind of be able to interact with those students and those families in a way that is culturally appropriate, that we may not know because it's not a culture that we interact. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
Has there been a training or anything?
There has not been.
Okay.
There hasn't. And so you will see that there's a lot of needs that are put in there.
Correct.
And what that looks like is that a group of selected teachers and administrators on that campus will sit around, and as we go through the demographic data, each portion, they will give their opinion on what they feel is needed. And so I think that's a very valid one, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it ends up in the district or campus improvement plan. Okay. But that doesn't mean that it's not something that we consider for the future moving forward. Okay. If the principals see that need in the campus, it's definitely something that they're going to want to implement. Okay. And even though a staff member at these campuses may have had that opinion, that doesn't necessarily mean that it represents a wide need. So it could have just been a statement from a traveling person that was with us at each campus. Okay. That could be represented as that. Okay. But I'll rest assured that if the principal said, we really need something, we're going to do it.
Yeah, and the only reason I brought it up, because I did see it on multiple different campuses, yes. And I thought, hold on, this is displayed in different needs assessments across different campuses. I wonder what is being done or if it is truly a big need.
Right.
So,
And so I think that's the definitive point though, is that I believe that was somebody that traveled with us.
okay,
And each one of those, and it came from the same source each time.
So those needs aren't necessarily from the staff or what they see is needed. It could be from someone that was just
So if they are with the district committee as we go through, and then yes, it could be that they voice their opinion in each of those campuses.
I think, speaking to the comprehensive needs assessment that goes with it, it's all database, it is not a small group thing, type of thing, correct?
Right. And what she does is she pulls up the data, and she does surveys, and all of that is included in that conversation. And so if there's not if the data doesn't support the need, then it's not necessarily going to end up in.
Mr. Townsend,
Good point.
I know that on our campus, the topic I believe came up related to the disproportionality of some disciplinary placements, and that's tied to one of the superintendent constraints. So there are members of our committee, and since we have such a high retention rate on our campus, it was shared on our campus that our teachers went through that training 3 years ago, and there are new teachers that we want to do that activity with at some point, so that they also have the experience of some of those culturally relevant teaching practices that we've done. But ours was started on our campus through AVID training, and because we roll AVID site-wide, that's where that came from. So there are some initiatives just that kind of came up in it, and with our connections with the parent liaison and with administrators, we really appreciate having the district representatives on our campus committees, because they can kind of see that common thread. And then if it is something that would be appropriate at the district level, but I know on our campus specifically, we do want to revisit with our staff as a whole at some point when we have a PD day with all of them, and then with the new teachers.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Right, thank you, sir. We do need to approve that, so is there a motion to be made?
Motion, we approve the campus improvement plan and district improvement plan goals for 2024, 2025.
All right, we have a motion on the table. Is there a second to the motion? All right, we have a first and a second. Any further comments, questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you so much for your work on that, sir. All right, presentation and approval of the proposed budget calendar. This is what I was referring to earlier, Dr. Mack.
So, Vince and Rick, at any time, feel free to jump in, because just so you know, groups here, how many of you participated in the TASBO leadership cohort training last year? And so, just so everyone knows that the inspiration of this calendar is not random, it's not a personal opinion. This is recommendations from TASBO, which is the Texas Association of School Business Officials. And so they do a master planning calendar. And so what we've tried to do here, and it's in your board book, and there may be some questions. One of the things for me is to communicate to the board what's available and what is not. The current budget is approved, so it's running, and it needs to run and not be amended because we've made a lot of plans. So the current budget's running, so we can look for effectiveness, we can look for ADA, we can look for savings, et cetera, but it's running. As far as starting work on a budget for next year based on projections, Mr. Rick, what are your thoughts on when you do and don't want to do that? And you have the calendar as well.
Well, based on projections, I know for sure we don't want to do them like this early on in the year, just because things are very, very subject to change, as we saw even last year in the spring. There are a couple items that just your unexpected expenditures that occur, so you don't really get the full picture. And on top of that, you have the expenditures that are coupled with the fact that you start getting the accrual piece and stuff. So I think right about closer to May, you have a better idea. April, or May. I know last year we tried to get a little bit of ahead of it, just kind of predict where we were, but then we still had a couple of things that kind of rolled in April and part of early May. So that's why I think that the like purchase order expenditure cutoffs are very important. We've been trying to implement those the last 2 years and trying to continue to do so, just because it kind of gives us a better idea rather than if we delay those, then you run into issues where, you know, sometimes of course we understand emergencies happen, but if you don't encumber funds early on throughout the year, then you're struggling to get a forecast, get a picture of where you're going to be budget-wise. So that's why the purchase order process is huge for us. But yeah, I would probably say late April, early May, right around the time we're getting ready to adopt the budget.
Vince, about how long, time-wise, does it take to run a template to make that projection?
Like the Elmore's template?
Yes.
Elmore's template takes about a day to complete.
Once you have the data.
Once you have the data, you can run it in, once you have the data, you can run it in a day and a half. Really.
And so you may have heard me speak before. Elmore's template is really throughout the state seen as the best tool to use when making a budget. And so it may be, and I may have put it as just a snapshot, but it may do us well to also see it maybe in that first workshop how the template works, and not to fill it in, but to look at all the blanks that you have to fill in on numerous tabs, correct? And if any one of those data points is rushed or with incomplete data, you're just going to have more bad results because we rushed it. Going back to the calendar in board book. So one of the things that we will be doing near the end of this month, and it'll probably go into early next month. So we have once we get the school year started, and so that is like launching an aircraft carrier. And I know we want data right now. It's literally it's impossible. When I say impossible, the first thing we're doing before we can give good snapshots is we're going to have a staffing meeting. We've had it in here before. All the principals come, all district personnel here, and we go line by line. Approximately 500 employees, one line at a time, and we look at their coding. And if, for example, one example would be Elizabeth is over state comp ed, and so Elizabeth will be in that meeting. And if we find that a teacher, let's say, is spending 50% of their day on intervention, that 50% may be charged to state comp ed. And you know about state comp ed, we're behind on that spending for purposeful actions before my time. That will help us spend that money and catch up even faster. And so we will be looking to code those to state comp ed if they fit the definition. Other things we will look at, we'll look at federal programs. Are there offsets that we can gain leverage and advantage on federal programs? But literally we will go, and that's why I think this is such a good process to do this every year. We will go line by line, every single employee, and check coding. The first 6 weeks I mentioned, we'll get our first ADA, and by far our most inaccurate thing that you ever want to plan on, because we know it tails off in the spring. But of course, I'll be bringing you those ADA reports. The close of start window. The other thing that's going on that puts staff under a lot of work is you have to find every student who did not return to the district that attended the school year last year. So it's called a no-show list. Anyone who was with us last year, you have to find them. And you have a certain date, which is the 27th. So you might imagine that that's a lot of work to find them. And guess what happens? You do find them, and you do get them back in school, which changes your ADA, which changes the first 6 weeks data. Going to the 30th there, the board newsletter. I'm just saying once we have the school start, and this is to hold me accountable, once we have the school start date behind us, on no later than the 30th, I will have a report to you on those items. And I mentioned in there to take very specific account of the October. The October is kind of the Super Bowl. There's something called the snapshot day. And the snapshot date is the first time. So from the state of Texas, the first time the state of Texas looks at our data is in October. And again, I can't tell you the rationale there, but it's always at the end of October. At that point, we freeze all of our demographics for accountability. We also, a number of allotments are frozen at that time, in that the state says you're set. Other allotments, as students move in, special education, for example, they can produce money throughout the year. But snapshot date is a gigantic date for us to hurdle and give you guys meaningful data about really what we're looking at. The next, then we get into November. Of course, the second 6 weeks, self-explanatory perhaps, we have more ADA data. And then the district administrative budget meeting, again, that is just us getting prepared for the budget workshop. I just wanted to have that on there for my team. And last year with the TASBO budget cohort, you guys remember we were meeting on a regular basis. We're going to continue that this year. We won't be in the leadership cohort meetings, and I hope you found great value in those trainings on developing budgets. But this year we're going to devote that time for compiling data and preparing it for board reports. So the first full workshop is in November, but I hope I've kind of painted the picture as to why you want it there. Because anything else would, of course it could be done, it just wouldn't be very useful and people would spend a whole lot of time on it. And so we hope to bring you by November, and I've been working with finance and they can jump in at any time. The monthly finance report, but also our first rating. Those initial reports have been released and it's good news, but we will get all the T's crossed, I's dotted, and bring that to you in November. Also at that time, gigantically, what we hope to have at that time is a completed audit. Vince and Rick, what are some of the major points to completing an audit that would make a November report robust?
Well, I mean, it's they're shooting for October. Okay, they're shooting for the audit to be finished by the October meeting. We're hopeful that they do it then. If they're able to do it, it depends on their schedule as far as their ours is one of the first schools they look at. It's our June 30th year end. Is makes us at the beginning of their audit cycle. Most other school districts, they have a August 31st year end. So they've already come out, they've already audited, and they now the period of time that they're talking to us about now are the things that they're going over everything and all that, and then they come up with questions and we're supplying information. So they're very, I mean, I can't give a percentage, but they're very hopeful that they'll have it done for the October meeting, which the last week, well, since we've been with KM&L, it's been in the November meeting. So
yes, sir, and I did put that as tentative in October.
Yeah.
But
as far as making it robust, I mean,
fund balance is finalized.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that was the big ticket item that I think that the board is very interested in seeing when it's certified, because it does typically change when the auditors are here and how we code things. But we look forward to bringing that to you. But as soon as those auditors are done, we want to shoot for October, because again, that is huge to have that in your hands for decision making. And we do have that tentatively scheduled for the 15th. But it would be difficult, based on history as it was just shared, that we wouldn't have all that in time for a November full workshop, to where we can really bring some robust data and really have a lot for you there, not just in the board meeting, that is tentatively set for the board meeting on the 15th to deliver the financial audit report. We would like to have that time, including the theme's fall snapshot data, to prepare a fully robust set of data for you guys in November at the full workshop. And then, yes, sir.
I was going to say, I was busy with Vince here. More than likely, it's going to be November.
Yeah, and I was
was gonna say, I just want to acknowledge, yes, we're aiming for October, but that's a very, very aggressive deadline, and even the, we brought up, still working through some of the approval pieces and stuff like that. So, like Doc mentioned, there are certain things that have to be recoded, things that are making sure we're evaluating, going back and pass on the pieces to make sure, everything's being done. So, that's the tentative date, as I mentioned, but,
Do you feel like it's more?
right now, like the way some of the things have been going over the last 2 weeks, it seems, I mean, don't get me wrong, we're working towards it, but it seems more likely to look like we're gonna be able to.
And so, accelerating a little bit, the most important thing there in January is, of course, we have closed the semester. And we have also submitted, this is huge also. You see there, we would have already submitted, but you're seeing things come back to us in February. So in the fall semester, we're going to submit a fall submission, which is the most robust staffing report you'll get. So that's due, again, this is a TASBO-inspired calendar based on statewide activity. So at that point, we would have the snapshot date, as well as, again, like I said, the additional data, knowing that we have submitted our fall PEMS, which is mainly staffing, and also in the fall, I mentioned the importance of the auditors finishing. They will close their year with mid-year submission for finance. So fall submission on the student side, and for the financials, it's a mid-year submission all around the end of the first semester, all driven by the state. And then you start to see those dates in February where it's available to us. And so you'll see there on like 213 PEMS fall data available to districts. This will be very helpful to inform as we ramp up into the new budget year. Those are the data pieces that we'll want to look at closely for the new budget year. As far as March goes, you see we get back, I referenced both of those submissions, but in March we get back our PEMS mid-year is available to us. So mid-year, remember, I want to differentiate once more. The fall submission for PEMS is really huge on staffing. It's our biggest staffing report. A lot of that September meeting where we all sit in here, that's so that the fall submission is accurate. So that's why all these activities line up. Then, as I said, in March, we will be receiving the mid-year, which is the finalization of our financial audit, not our financial audit, our financial submission to PEMS. That is our state data management system. Some of you may recall a conversation, I believe we may have talked about this in the finance committee, that the state has launched Edify. That is a new system. This is the first year of Edify this year. And so in the past, we used a different system. We're hearing this one's going to be great, but just with a lot of things, and our PEMS director's not here, but Edify is rolling out. Edify is not rolled out. It's rolling out, and we're 6 weeks in. And so as I sit here, I don't have access to Edify, and that's a state thing. Edify has to be stood up. Edify is a new data management system it's replacing one of the acronym is TSDS. And so that does add a constraint. That's our job. It's not a gigantic deal, but I can't wait to see that interface, because what Edify claims is it will give you those reports overnight, which will be huge. And so I haven't seen it yet, but they're touting it as it's a refresh overnight to state data, which will be very helpful to all of us and probably cut down on workload if it all works out. Then some other, mainly to the board, I'll accelerate a little bit unless you guys have questions. Getting into March, more budget workshops, and then you see in the red shaded areas are really the board activities that were lined out for you, and the ones that are not shaded in red are kind of just letting you know what's going on. And this is one piece. We have a budget master calendar. We have a staffing master calendar. We have a compliance master calendar, and I'm missing one for sure. I'm 100% that I'm missing one. But in our view, these are all side by side. And so where you see those meetings in September for coding, it will also be in the staffing calendar to know that this is where these things cross over. And trust me, that is a lot. And so we can absolutely, it's already in place. We adjust the dates. We can get that out to you, but know what that would look like. You know, I just think starting with the budget would be best. And a lot of those staffing things, you know, it's an HR thing. There wouldn't be really any grid. It would just be what we're doing behind the scenes. And so that is the calendar. Again, the purpose that we're recommending it tonight is to be transparent and show you what's available, when it's available, to be accountable to you and say, we will have those delivered. And you have the dates that we will have that information ready to share. I will say it cannot be understated. It cannot be understated. And we're in a legislative biennium coming up. It's a very big year. We are going to roll out a voter initiative, which we've done in the past. We don't tell people how to vote. We don't care how they vote, but they must vote. You may have heard me say in the past, when we had our last election here, we knew it's released exactly the instant you vote. So they know the time I voted. They don't know how I voted. That was a question we received. But when Dr. Brian Woods came, he says, you have to vote because they don't know how you voted, but they know that you're active. And so that's critical. Kelly has been working on a really nice factual SMOR that we can send to staff with things like, when's the last day to register for the next election? That's all. What are your polling sites, et cetera. It's more of just, how can we help you do your civic duty? We have no interest. Not even, as you know, there were more superintendents prosecuted last year than probably ever for speaking about legislative issues. So, I will be in a limited role, but I will stay within the guidelines that I'm given as a superintendent on what I can and what I cannot say. And that really, I feel, should be one of the legislative priorities moving forward. I cannot understand why the superintendent would be muzzled in any way when the superintendent's in charge of knowing the information. And yet if we have some sort of community, I would kind of be in the background and y'all would be out there and I would kind of be in the background. Whether it's, you know, a bond initiative, stuff like that, some of you have been through that before. The superintendent cannot be really advocating in any way for that. And I'm not saying advocating, it's just when you start to really scrutinize freedom of speech, in my opinion. A lot of colleagues had a misdemeanor 5 on this last year. And again, those are articles you can find in Texas ISD. Nonetheless, that's a whole picture of what's going on. And I just wanted to be sure that it's presented in a way that we want to be accountable and for you to know way ahead of time what's coming. And through this process, you may identify the things that you want on there. We'll put them on.
One thing that, looking back to the finance, when this was presented to the finance committee, and I know he sent this out, didn't send it out before I get it all confused, but that really, I think as board members, the concern is not, well, if the concern is how we're doing, and I know all of these play into how we're doing, but the thing that I talked about at the committee meeting is perception is reality. And so realizing that yes, it may be a drop in the bucket of what we're spending because our personnel and our staffing is the biggest portion, but perception is a reality. And just to keep that in the forefront of everything that we're spending, from $1 for this to $75 million for this. So that is one thing that I think I know from different conversations that I'm having with other board members, that that's a big deal. Is it may not be a lot of money, but the perception that we're getting new things or doing these things when we're not able to do these other things is a big deal to staff and to the board. And so just ensuring like we're in a needs only portion of our budgeting life cycle. And the budget process may look different. And that's one of the things that I think is going to be beautiful about having a budget workshop in November is, does the budget process need to look different at the board level to know what is being spent or what is budgeted for this or that, and getting into not the nitty gritty, but also knowing, okay, yes, we're approving this big budget, but what is truly in the big budget that is a need versus a want? And bringing those needs versus wants to the board level to ensure that we're not spending a bunch on wants when we have a long list of needs that are far outweigh the other things. So I appreciate the work towards this. And I think that that's the intent from multiple board members across the board, is that we just want to make sure that we're spending, and I'm not saying there's not spending appropriately, but that there's an eye on it, and I know that y'all are watching it. But as the
Sure, and
board-
if this, and I agree completely, and if this had been the past, we probably wouldn't be where we are.
Right.
Because there's more questions now than ever before, more
Correct.
scrutiny than ever
Correct.
before, more pressure. But I do agree, this is the way to do it, is transparency, and also understanding for what we are doing.
Yes.
Understand?
So are there any other questions or comments on this item of business? All right, is there a motion being made?
Motion to approve the budget calendar. as presented.
All right, is there a second to the motion? All right, there's a first and a second. Any further comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, moving on to the next item of business, a public meeting to discuss budget and proposed tax rates. Good evening, sir.
Alrighty, so this is more or less just a formality at this point, a recap of what we did last month regarding the tax rate adoption. So I'm just kind of going through the entire process. In May 21st, 2024, you as the board of trustees adopted the 24-25 budget. Attached to your LinkedIn, so this is just kind of an overview of the documents that were signed by the board to kind of go over the M&O budget, budget by function, and then the Fund 240 food service, as well as the 599 items budget. Moving on, on July 19th, we received the 2024 certified appraisal roll from the appraisal district, where we kind of went over the 1.8 billion taxable value for INS, as we discussed last month. A lot of that plays into, yes, there's been compression, yes, tax rates have gone down, but when we factor in the evaluation that has gone up, that's when we start getting questions, well, tax rates are going down, why am I not seeing these my property taxes? This is exactly why. Smoke and mirrors, honestly, a lot of that is set by the state, so the county appraisal district is having to sit there and keep up with the state values. So, although we're getting compression at the state level, the state's also pressuring the appraisal districts to make sure that these values up. So, as we see there, the net taxable value for M&O jumps to 179 million to 1.8 billion. The INS jumped 164 million to 2.1. This is factoring in the $100,000 homestead exemption that was voted on last year in November. And just kind of a reminder, if you're wondering why the INS is higher than the M&O, Chapter 313 rates reduce the taxable value for M&O, while INS taxable values for the full value properties. So, moving along to the next slide here. The 15th of last month, we received the 2024 voter approval tax rate from the tax assessor collector, which is this document here that we reviewed last month as well, showing that our revenue tax rate is $1.01, almost $1.02, and the maintenance operations rate is 66.69. Just kind of going back over those M&O valuations again, the freeze tax will be 127 million. And so, all in all, that led us to last month's regular board meeting, where we proposed, we proposed this, put this in the paper. This is a document that we went over. Just kind of going over those values once again. Coming here, so M&O tax rate being set at 66.69, INS being set at 34.64, 8 for a total of 101.38. Brings us to today, where you guys will have the opportunity to vote and adopt on the 24-25 M&O tax rate, which is, almost 2 cents less than the minimum tax rate of last year, as well as the INS tax rate, which is roughly almost 13 cents less than the rate that was there, that we adopted the year before. So the total tax rate, all in all, will come out to be about 3 cents less, than last year's total tax rate. And then just kind of once again about the numbers, comparing those, you see the almost 2 cent decrease there for M&O, and then the yearly, almost about 1 cent decrease there for roughly 3 cent decrease overall. Once again, just kind of reiterating the certified taxable value for M&O, INS, 1.8 billion, 2.1 billion, and then the pre-tax was the 127 million there. So all that really is taxpayers over 65. Yes, the actual tax is roughly $500. And then this 2024 tax rate calculation worksheet that we worked on at the Magnolia County Tax Assessor's Collector's Office is attached and will be part of our required postings on the district website. Any questions?
Sorry. So now we're going to move into the approval.
Your community as well, and to hear, I'm assuming no one has any questions.
At your side.
All right. Is there a motion?
Go home, get 24 to 25 tax rate.
All right, is there a second to the motion? All right, we have a first and a second. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Thank you so much for all of that work. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anyone would like to remove? All right. Is there a motion to be made? All right, is there a second to the motion? All right, any questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, we will convene into closed session under personnel matters if necessary may be taken into closed session pursuant of Texas Government Code 551.074 to deliberate the employment, employment, evaluation, resignation, duties, discipline, resignation or dismissal of a public officer or employee, including contract recommendations for campus and district level administrators or teachers. Another item of business is consultation with legal counsel regarding potential amendment to appraised value limitation agreement number 1483 with Rome America LLC related to amending the dates of the qualifying time period of the value limitation period. Texas Government Code section 551.071, 551.129, and 551.087. The time is 8:03 and we will move into closed session.
Make a motion to approve hiring the personnel as presented.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
All right, there's a first and a second. Any conversation, questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next item of business is adjournment. Is there a motion to be made?
We'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, is there a second to the motion? All right, any comments, questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. We will adjourn this meeting at 9:05.